I was standing at the counter recently doing that stupid thing where you convince yourself you're being smart because the finish looks clean and the clicks feel tight. And I was this close to buying the wrong revolver again, because revolvers don't usually embarrass you in the shop. They embarrass you later. When the gun's hot, the brass starts dragging, and you're at the bench smacking the ejector rod while everyone pretends not to watch. That's the trap right now. Guys drop extra money thinking they're buying something better, then find out they just paid more for something pickier. My buddy watched me fight one like that and just goes, real calm, so what did the extra money buy you? That stuck. So no, don't buy before watching. If a revolver gets weird when it's hot or dirty, it's already failed. These 5 didn't. These are the ones that actually justify the money after the shine wears off. And the last one, people still get it wrong. Last August, the Texas heat was cooking the range at 104 degrees. I was out there with my buddy Mike, both of us soaked in sweat, pushing defensive drills before the storm hit. I brought the Taurus 856 as my budget wheel gun test. I went in expecting it to fold under real pressure. For that price, something had to break. We started with weak hand draws and failure drills. My hands were slick, the grip turning slippery. The double action felt decent at first, but then we rolled into the dirt, shooting from cover. Sand packed into the cylinder. On the 5th reload, the extractor hung up hard. For a split second, I thought, here it comes. This cheap revolver is about to jam and leave me looking stupid. I smacked it hard on my boot, hesitated, then tried again. It freed up and kept running clean. 6 rounds into the torso plate. In under 4 seconds. Mike just shook his head and laughed. That moment flipped something. The little 856 didn't quit when it easily could have. The factory grips get dangerously slick when your hands are drenched in Texas sweat. I swapped them later, but it's the only thing that really bit me. At the end of that brutal day, I kept thinking, I paid a lot less than the big names, and I still didn't get punished for it. Makes you wonder what the extra money on fancier revolvers is actually buying you when it really counts. 2 months ago, I rode 6 hours with a Ruger SP101 jammed appendix, like a damn brick somebody forgot to take off my belt. Family thing near Fredericksburg, Texas. Long drive, in and out of the truck, seatbelt pulling across it, that steel chunk digging the same spot every time I sat. By hour 3, I started doing the math in my head like an idiot. I paid for this? For a little .357 that weighs like a toolbox? I kept thinking I should have bought something cheaper, lighter, and easier to forget. Then, that same weekend, at a private session outside town, I watched the other side of lighter. A guy brought one of those featherweight snubs everybody praises because it disappears on the belt. First cylinder looked fine, then he tried to run it fast. That little gun started billing him immediately. Muzzle jumping, grip shifting, shots dropping low. His support hand started peeling loose like the revolver was trying to climb out of it. By the 3rd cylinder, he wasn't shooting it anymore. He was surviving it. Standing there, the SP101's weight stopped feeling like punishment. It felt like stability I could cash. Recoil stayed predictable. The gun stayed where I put it. My hits didn't scatter just because I pushed pace. As heavy as hell, it beats up your belt and your body. But in 2026, worth it meant I paid with weight, not with misses. And what came after that cost even more. And it tried real hard to earn its paycheck. I was in Austin last month. One of those clean, quiet places where even the used guns look like they're wearing cologne. The Kimber K6s sat dead center in the glass like it knew it didn't have to beg. Bright, polished, almost too perfect. I walked past it once, then again. By the 3rd loop, I felt myself getting annoyed, like the gun was built to impress guys who don't shoot much, and charge the rest of us for the privilege. The guy behind the counter watched me do it and goes, "You're doing that thing again?" I asked what thing. He said, "You already decided you don't like it without touching it." That pissed me off more than the price tag, so I told him to hand it over, mostly to prove my point. And that's where my argument started dying. In the hand, it didn't feel flashy. It felt tight, solid, like the parts actually belong together. Then I touched the trigger and caught what I didn't want to catch. It was clean in a way that made the rest of my trash talk feel stupid. Smart buying isn't worshiping pretty. It's paying for what you feel every time you run it. That's where the money went. And what came after had a louder legend, and I walked in ready to hate it even harder. I was up late recently, doom scrolling used listings like a man trying to talk himself out of spending real money. Every time a Colt Python popped up, I said the same thing out loud. Legend tax, like saying it made me smarter. Then I started noticing the part nobody brags about. Used Pythons didn't sit. They didn't come down. Half the listings looked like a ransom note. 3 crappy photos, some lazy description, and still gone. Same week, same price, sometimes stupid, close to new. Guys weren't even pretending they were taking a loss. They weren't. That's when it clicked. Most expensive guns punish you later. You get bored, you go to sell, and the market laughs at you. The Python didn't do that. The receipt stayed defensible after the glow wore off. I finally put hands on one, and it didn't feel like jewelry. It felt like somebody actually cared about the parts touching each other. Trigger didn't do that gritty, good enough thing. It stayed clean. Lockup felt deliberate, and I hated how fast my argument fell apart. The flaw? Price messes with your head. You catch yourself babying it, but that's why it's no regrets. The price didn't collapse later. That's where the money went. What came after that wasn't legendary at all. It was the one that kept winning after years of boring ownership. I tried not to put the Smith & Wesson 686 Plus at number 1. I don't know, but it just felt too obvious, too safe. The kind of answer that makes people roll their eyes like you ran out of taste. So I did what everybody does. I chased the more interesting choices. Prettier finishes, cooler names, stuff that looked better sitting in a case than it did living in real life. I held a bunch of them, did the little mental gymnastics, tried to convince myself I'd found something smarter than the boring pick. Then the boring pick kept showing up anyway. Every time I cut through the noise and asked the only questions that matter, what do I keep? What do I actually use? What still makes sense after the receipt? The ammo bill, the little scratches, the cleaning, the parts reality. The 686 Plus kept winning. Not because it was exciting, because it didn't hand me a reason to say no. 7 rounds without feeling goofy. Balance that didn't fight me. A trigger that did its job without begging for attention. An ownership that didn't turn into a scavenger hunt. That's why it landed here. That's where the money went. And the bonus one? It's uglier, rougher, and it starts comment wars every damn time. But it refuses to die. That Ruger GP100 almost stole this whole video because of one ugly revolver I saw in a pawn shop outside San Marcos. It sat low in the case, not even under the good light. Beat up rubber grip. Cylinder line cut deep, like it had been spun 1,000 times. Finish worn dull around the muzzle, like somebody actually carried it instead of taking pictures of it. And the tag was still high enough to make me laugh. In my head, I went, who prices a gun like that after it already lived a whole life? Then I picked it up. That's where the joke stopped. The outside looked tired, but the gun didn't feel tired. Lockup felt serious. The cylinder turned like it had miles on it. Not problems. Trigger wasn't glassy, wasn't trying to charm me. It just moved like a tool that's done this too many times to get dramatic about it. And that's the G100's whole trick. Some revolvers feel worth it only when they're new and shiny. The GP100 starts making sense when it's scratched up and still feels like it's got years left. The flaw is obvious. Bulky, rough, not refined. It loses beauty contests. But if I can buy one that looks like this and not feel robbed, that's where the money went. That's worth every penny to me. The revolver that stays boring after the glow dies. Hot gun, dirty chambers, mixed ammo, rushed reloads, and it still ejects clean, locks up right, and doesn't turn the trigger into a gravel road when you speed up. Most people get burned on the same stuff. They buy polish and a name, then they act surprised when it starts acting precious. They pick the wrong size, hate carrying it, then blame the gun. Or they ignore little timing weirdness like it's normal. It's not. That's a bill that shows up later. Drop yours in the comments. What revolver earned your money, and which one made you feel stupid? I'm Steve, and I still don't like how easy it is to talk yourself into the wrong one.